Hey guys, welcome back to my channel Sociology with Mahima. In this video, we will discuss the Unit 2 of MSOE-1 Theoretical Approaches. This video contains 3 parts: Functionalism, Conflict Theory, and Comparison between Functionalist and Conflict Approaches. So let's get started. Let's understand the Functionalist approach to education by first recalling how Functionalism looks at society as a whole. Functionalists see society as a system made up of interrelated and interdependent parts, very much like a living organism. Just as the organs of the body perform specific functions to keep the body alive and stable, social institutions perform functions to maintain social order and balance. From this perspective, education is not an isolated activity but a major social institution that plays a crucial role in maintaining stability, consensus, and continuity in society. From a functionalist point of view, one of the most important functions of education is socialization. Education transmits shared norms, values, beliefs, and sentiments to the younger generation, so that members of society develop a sense of agreement and common understanding. This shared value system helps prevent excessive conflict and disruptive change. In simple or traditional societies, the family largely performs this role of socialization. However, as societies become more complex and industrialized, the family alone is no longer sufficient. In such societies, formal education institutions take over the major responsibility of socializing children into the wider social order. Emil Durkheim emphasized that education is essential for the survival of society because it creates homogeneity among individuals. According to him, education transforms the biological individual into a social being by instilling collective norms and moral values. Schools, in this sense, act as a miniature societies or micro-social systems. Within schools, children learn discipline, cooperation, punctuality, respect for authority, and acceptable patterns of behavior, qualities that later guide their conduct in adult social life. Education also performs an economic function by preparing individuals for the division of labor. In modern societies, work roles are highly specialized, and families cannot provide the technical knowledge and skills required for these roles. Schools and educational institutions step in to train individuals with the skills and competencies needed for different occupations. Talcott Parsons further highlighted that schools help develop the abilities and commitments required for adult role performance and act as a bridge between the family and the wider society. Another key idea in Parsons' analysis is that education promotes achievement-based evaluation rather than assumptions. In schools, individuals are judged on the basis of performance, merit, and effort, not on biological characteristics such as birth or family background. In this way, education legitimizes status differences and allocates individuals to appropriate positions within the school structure. Overall, from a functionalist perspective, education is an integrative mechanism that prepares individuals for adult roles, maintaining social order and ensures the continuity and stability of society. Now let us look at the conflict approach to education, which offers a very different way of understanding how education works in society. Unlike functionalism, the conflict perspective does not see society as harmonious or based on shared consensus. Instead, it views society as being in a constant state of tension and imbalance, shaped by struggles between powerful groups and those with less power. From this point of view, education is not a neutral or integrative institution. Rather, it reflects and reinforces existing social inequalities related to class, power, and privilege. Conflict theorists argue that educational system is largely controlled by dominant social groups, especially the economically powerful classes. These groups shape educational policies, curriculum, and institutional practices in ways that help maintain their dominance. Drawing on Marxist ideas, Louis Althusser explained that education functions as an ideological state apparatus. Through schooling, individuals are trained to become disciplined workers and are socialized into accepting the ideas and values of capitalism, such as obedience, competition, and acceptance of inequality. In this way, education helps reproduce labor power and legitimizes exploitation by making social arrangements appear natural and justified. Bowles and Gentes further developed this argument by showing how education prepares students for their future positions in the capitalist economy. According to them, schools produce a surplus labor force suitable for low-paid and subordinate jobs, which strengthens the control of employers and keeps wages low. The way schools are organized through authority, structures, rules, grading systems, and discipline closely mirrors the hierarchical division of labor found in workplaces. As a result, students learn to accept inequality and authority long before they enter the labor market. Other scholars have focused on the cultural and ideological aspects of schooling. Michael Apple and King highlighted the idea of the hidden curriculum, which refers to the unspoken lessons taught in schools about obedience, conformity, and acceptance of existing power relations. Pierre Bourdieu and Jean-Claude Pesseron introduced the concept of cultural reproduction, arguing that schools value and reward the culture, language, and habits of dominant classes. Students from privileged backgrounds already possess this cultural capital, giving them an advantage, while children from working class or marginalized backgrounds face structural barriers that often lead to failure. What makes this process particularly powerful, conflict theorists argue, is that education presents itself as neutral, fair, and merit-based. By claiming to reward talent and effort alone, the educational system hides its role in reproducing inequality. As a result, social differences appear to be the outcome of individual ability rather than the unequal access to power and resources. From the conflict perspective, education therefore plays a central role in maintaining existing class structures and legitimizing social inequality rather than promoting genuine equality of opportunity. Now, if we compare the functionalist and conflict approaches to education, the first major difference lies in how they understand society itself. Functionalists see society as a stable and orderly system, much like a living organism, where different institutions work together to maintain balance and equilibrium. Education in this view is one such institution that contributes to social stability. Conflict theorists, however, reject this image of harmony. They argue that society is always marked by tension and struggle, especially between dominant and subordinate groups, and that inequality is a normal and ongoing feature of social life rather than an exception. Because of this difference in outlook, the two perspectives assign very different roles to education. Functionalists believe education plays an integrative role by transmitting shared norms, values, and skills that are necessary for social order and cooperation. Thinkers like Durkheim and Parsons emphasize that schools socialize children into becoming responsible social beings and prepare them for adult roles in society. Conflict theorists, on the other hand, argue that education does not integrate society as a whole, but mainly serves the interest of powerful groups. From their perspective, schools help maintain domination by teaching students to accept existing inequalities as natural and legitimate. Another important point of contrast is the idea of equality and merit. Functionalists generally assume that education operates on meritocratic principles, meaning that individuals are rewarded based on talent, effort, and achievement. Education, therefore, is seen as a fair system for allocating people to different roles in the division of labor. Conflict theories strongly challenge this assumption. They argue that while education appears merit-based on the surface, it actually favors students from dominant social classes who already possesses economic, social, and cultural advantages. As a result, educational success often reflects background privilege rather than the pure ability. The two approaches also differ sharply in how they view curriculum and knowledge. From a functionalist perspective, the curriculum reflects the need of society and helps maintain the division of labor by teaching relevant skills and values. In contrast, conflict theorists argue that the curriculum carries a hidden agenda. Scholars like Apple and King point out that schools promote promote the culture, language, and worldview of the dominant groups while marginalizing other forms of knowledge. Through this process, education legitimizes existing power relations. Finally, the issue of power and control highlights the core disagreement between these perspectives. Functionalists tend to see the state and educational institutions as neutral bodies working for school solidarity and collective well-being. Conflict theorists reject this neutrality, arguing that schools are instruments controlled by elites. They maintain that education masks inequality behind ideas of fairness and merit, while actually reproducing class divisions and power structures. In short, while functionalists emphasize order, integration, and consensus, conflict theorists focus on inequality, domination, and the role of education in sustaining existing social hierarchies. That's all for today's video. If you like the video, please hit the like button. Thank you for joining the class. See you in the next video.